Hello, everybody. Welcome to Let's Talk Football. My name is John Halpin, alongside Chris Palmer. How you doing today, my brother?
How you doing, my friend? Happy late Thanksgiving to you. Hope you had a good weekend.
Oh, thank you, my friend. I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving as well. And to all our viewers out there, we hope you had a fantastic Thanksgiving weekend. There's so much to talk about. That we had an excellent weekend of football this week. So, Chris Palmer, are you ready to just dive right into it?
Hell yeah, dude! This was an epic week.
Absolutely. Hey, Thanksgiving weekend is a very special weekend in the NFL. And let's start on Thanksgiving Day, starting with the Chicago Bears going to Detroit to play the Lions. This turned out to be a better game than expected, but the Lions ultimately won 23 to 20. But it's that ending that everyone was talking about. Chris Palmer, what happened at that ending right there?
Oh my god, that was probably the most dilute. That was for those who didn't watch. There was about a minute left. Bears had one touchdown. They are moving down the field productively throughout this 2 minute drill where they can actually come back and tie this game. They are within field goal range. They are
Down 23 to 20.
down 23-20. They are within field goal range. They're about 4 or 5 yards outside of field goal range. And I believe their range was about 47 yards. So it was about the 30-yard line from where they needed to be. They have a timeout. They they march down the field. They take their time. Take more time.
No timeout.
No timeout. Take more time. I believe they snapped the ball at 16 seconds left on the clock. Final play.
Actually, they snapped it at 3 seconds.
I thought that was when Caleb Williams let the ball go, but he let it
That's
go at around 6 seconds.
he let it go with no time on the clock,
All
so
right,
it was
so
already
I was
gone.
giving them more credit than what was, and game over because again, if you're making a play like that, you got to go for the end zone. The ball fell 7 yards short of the end zone and was still overthrown. So you're not looking for the end zone. You're not calling a timeout. You're not even looking for field goal range. What are you doing? Matt Eberflus saw his job was gone at the end of this game, so he set everything up in smoke. That's what that was.
Mm-hmm.
That was, if you're going to fire me, I'm going to set everything up in flames, and then you're going to have to put it out when I'm gone. That is what we saw on the field.
Yeah, it was just poor coaching by Chicago. Matt Eberflus literally had one timeout and just did not call it for a solid minute. Just let the clock just keep running and running and running. Um, and we spoke about this earlier in the year, and I was like, I was never a big Matt Eberflus guy, and I didn't think that he would really keep his job at the end of the year. I think that this was just indicative of it, where now everyone, all the fingers are pointing towards Matt Eberflus, where it's like, see, it's coaching. But it's not just coaching. There's a lot of problems in Chicago. But Matt Eberflus is no longer the head coach of the Chicago Bears because of it. So Chicago fans, Bears fans, I my heart goes out to you because it has been a very rough season for you guys.
Yeah, no, this is a rough one. But hey, 10 straight for Detroit. They are rolling.
Yeah, the Lions are rolling, and they just look like the best team in the NFC right now.
They
So
look
good
like
for Detroit.
arguably the best team in the NFL. Let's stop.
You
Let's
can
stop for a second.
You can make the argument, man. Absolutely. I mean, they're right there. I mean, I would agree with you, but but man, hey, there's plenty of season left, and so we still have a couple more weeks to see how it turns out. So, but that was just the first game on Thanksgiving. The second game was a little juicier too. The New York Giants against the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys ultimately won 27 to 20. Giants again. This has been a rough year for the Giants as well. Um, and it seems that being here that we live in New York, talking to a lot of Giants fans, the motto is just keep on losing.
Yeah, at this point, it's just push for the first overall. You can push other teams out of the way, like the Cowboys, who were looking for it a couple weeks back, and chances are they're not going to get it. But, the Giants, you have a good shot at getting the first overall, and then who knows, if Shador Sanders puts his name in the draft, maybe you can try and scoop him and then move forward from there. But there's a lot more issues than just a quarterback in New York.
I 100% agree with you, man. There's just a lot of problems in New York, but hey, good for Dallas to get this win on Thanksgiving. I know Jerry must have been happy to see this. Man, so let's go to the final game of Thanksgiving, and that was the Miami Dolphins and the Green Bay Packers. And surprisingly, this was one of two games this weekend that was a blowout. Everything else was relatively close, but it was pretty much all Green Bay from the get-go. 30-17 was the final. Green Bay now goes to Detroit to play the Lions this upcoming Thursday. That should be a great matchup ahead of them.
Yeah, but at the loss of Jaire Alexander and
Romeo Dobbs.
Romeo Dobbs, so
Mhm.
they will not be there at that game on Thursday. So that could hurt them. But good, strong win. The better team won with Miami.
Yeah, Miami. Miami's still alive in the playoff hunt. They really have to win out and need a lot of extra help to get there, but Miami is still alive for the most part. We'll have to keep an eye on them as the season goes on. Let's move on to Black Friday, where now the NFL has started to implement Black Friday games starting last year. But this year, two totally different teams. It is the Raiders and the Chiefs division rivalry game. But the Chiefs ultimately victorious 19-17. But again, another controversial decision or a controversial call by the officiating at the end there. CP, there was. I know you and we spoke about this off air, man. There's a lot to get into the Chiefs, but man, I feel for the Raiders because they could have won this game.
Yeah, they absolutely could have won this game. Another reverse call that went the way of Kansas City. And I'm not gonna. We'll get into it when it comes to the Chiefs and the controversy that has been them. There's no conspiracy behind it. It's just simply what is happening on field.
Yeah, it's we're gonna unpack the Chiefs later on in this episode. They have a great matchup ahead of them this week against the Chargers, so that should be a fun to look at. But man, I feel for the Raiders, man. But this is another one of those teams where it's just been a rough season for them this year. And let's move on to Sunday slate of games. And I guess sticking with the theme of teams that have been having a rough year, the Houston Texans and the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jags, man, this was an ugly game for any Jags fan out there. Houston won 23-20, but I think the bigger story was Trevor Lawrence went out with a pretty bad elbow. He took an elbow to the head, and I think he was out with a concussion. He was carted off the field, and there was a big fight that broke out between the Texans and Jags. You hate to see it get really ugly like that and that ugly hit, but man, CP, what were your thoughts on that?
I have very mixed feelings as to what happened, and we don't have enough time in the recap to really get into it. At first, you want to point at the guy who made the late hit, and you want to go, "What the fuck?" Like, that was a fucked up hit. But then you look at it slower, and you're like, Trevor Lawrence still really doesn't know how to slide. He slid a little late. You can point. Is it really a black and white late hit, or were there things that is being used to the advantage of the offense that is making the defense become penalized?
Mm-hmm.
There's no. Tom Brady said it the best. There's no penalty for a quarterback sliding late.
Yeah.
You make a late slide, it's much more aggressive outside of the pocket.
Mm-hmm.
So they're coming at you full speed.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
As much as we want to see the safety of everybody, you need to take the safety of your own body into account as well.
Mm-hmm.
So no one wants to see a hit like that in this league. That is a crazy ricochet to the floor from Trevor Lawrence's head. That is an unbelievable injury. He is on IR. I believe he's out for the next 3 to 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I hope he gets better. He also needs to take a little bit of accountability into his own preparation to taking a hit like that.
Mm-hmm.
If there is a quarterback designed run, you need to know when you hit the deck, you go to the ground and you don't linger. You need to know how to slide and you need to know how to take a hit so you don't injure yourself. These guys are coming at you full speed. There's accountability on both sides.
No, absolutely, CP, and that was well said, because that's the thing, is like, players need to learn how to protect themselves. We've talked about this with Tua this year and a lot of other years in the past, where it's like quarterbacks especially need to learn how to slide and protect their bodies. And unfortunately, when they don't, results like this happen, and a lot of the uglies come out in the NFL. So Trevor Lawrence, we wish you a very healthy recovery along the way. But it is it was a really tough play to see. Mac Jones will be starting for the Jags going forward. So let's move on to New England, where the Colts took on the Patriots, and the Colts, with a very scrappy win, 25-24 against the Patriots. Colts and Anthony Richardson, okay, finding their groove.
It's cool to see this wave of teams that are just embracing their young quarterbacks. We will succeed when we can, and we will grow where we can. You're seeing that happen kind of in flux as the season has moved on. Colts are one of those teams, and this was a tough win for them to get, but they still have a lot of growing pains. So this was a good win to thug out.
Absolutely. And this was not a bad loss for New England either.
Nope.
This was a very, very tough win. If there's ever like a football game of a football game, this was it. It was a very tough one for both teams, and nothing came easy. So good game to watch all around, and good for the Colts to win this one. Let's move on to Atlanta, where the Chargers came across the country to see the Atlanta Falcons and beat the Falcons 17-13. Kirk Cousins with 4 interceptions this game. Atlanta has really slid the last couple weeks, but the Chargers are pretty solid this year under the first year of Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, you gotta give hats off to that defense. Huge defensive win. Kirk Cousins, got to hope that's an anomaly, because we've known to see some ugly come out of Kirk Cousins.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about it earlier this year that Atlanta historically are one of those teams that fizzle out come the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Is history doomed to repeat itself, or will Kirk Cousins be able to shake this off? That is a big question mark, and with not so many games left in the year.
Yeah, I mean, Atlanta is still they still control their destiny with the NFC South. I know we talked about it last week with Tampa and Carolina. Tampa's really the only big threat to Atlanta at this point in time, but Atlanta has those 2 tiebreakers over Tampa. So despite losing, they still lead the NFC South at the current point in time. Let's move on to the MetLife Stadium, where the Seattle Seahawks came to play the New York Jets. And at first, this looked like the Jets were going to come out to win, but no. Seahawks won 26-21. The Jets just could not get their offense going after the first quarter, and it was very ugly to watch at that point in time. And Geno Smith, hey, he's been liking that hero ball as of late.
Well, the Seahawks are one of those teams that just simply like thugging out wins, and
yeah.
Geno Smith he enjoyed this one. But the Jets, they just one of those teams this year that just can't get out of their own way at any point. They just can't. Anytime they do one thing right, they do 10 things wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just them.
It's been them, but man, I mean, we've talked to Jets ad nauseum. We've talked about them 3 times this year, and I'm sure we could talk about them going every week going forward, but let's not. But man, it has been a rough season for the Jets so far this year. But fun fact: the Jets sit at 3-9 at the moment. This is the second most losses by Aaron Rodgers in his career. The last time he had 10 or more losses, he had 10 losses, and that was his first year starting in Green Bay. Uh, so he is probably going to be losing more. Looking at the Jets schedule, they play the Rams, Bills, Dolphins, and Jags, and maybe the Jags they win that game. But other than that, man, it is going to be a rough finish
Rough
for the
couple
Jets this
weeks.
year. Yeah.
Oh
So,
my god.
so let's move on. Let's move on to Washington, where the Titans came into town, but it was all Washington all day, 42-19 Washington. This was the get right game that Washington needed.
Yeah, 100%. Washington needed this game. Titans, wrong place, wrong time. But you should take this, watch film until you are sick of watching it, and find every piece that's wrong and learn from it. You can take a lot from a big loss like this. And that's the truth. You take a lot and you can learn a lot about who you guys are as a team by watching this film.
Absolutely. And just hey, the only thing I got to say for the Titans is just go easy on the Mayo.
Draft a quarterback, please. Please draft a quarterback. Don't make this guy your your franchise.
Mayo man, baby, Mayo man.
Oh my god.
Oh man, let's move on to Cincinnati, where the Steelers came, and we had a really good game between the Steelers and the Bengals. Steelers ultimately won 44-38. That's right, 44-38. We had a high scoring game between these two teams. But CP, how did it feel to see the Steelers put up 40 on a division rival, nonetheless?
It felt good to watch it all come together. Finally, it felt good to watch it all come together. For the past 5 years or more, it's been our defense is ready, our offense is missing one or two things, and then we're shattered with injuries. And it's like rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. So now it's all the fat trimming is gone. Got the veteran we needed, Russell Wilson. He has a new life now because he's found a culture that's embraced him. He had a lot left in the tank, and he was just waiting for a place to show it. All the pieces are moving together. The deep ball is back in Pittsburgh. The run game is back in Pittsburgh. Russell Wilson found his game again. The defense is ready to play. And Mike Tomlin is Mike Tomlin. It was a great game to watch, and it's great to see everything moving together in Pittsburgh again.
Hey, I may be, I, like I told you before, I will gladly admit I was wrong with the Steelers this year because I thought they weren't going to be as good this year. It has been great to see the Steelers as good as they have been this year. And, hey, mark it right now. Russell Wilson, comeback player of the year, man. I think that is on the table and more than likely at this point in time.
If he gets comeback player of the year, Mike Tomlin has to get coach of the year.
And I think that's more than likely to happen. At this point in time, Steelers look like one of the best teams in the AFC right now, and it's really hard to say otherwise.
Mike Tomlin would have to win a playoff game to get coach of the year.
I would love to see that, man.
He would have to get a playoff win. Because if he doesn't, Dan Campbell's going to get it because he's going to bring Detroit to 2 consecutive NFC championships.
Well, we got to see. There's a lot of season left. We got to see how it plays out.
If it doesn't go to Mike Tomlin, it's going to Dan Campbell.
And I'm fine with either. I'm fine with either. Oh man, let's move on to Minnesota, where we had a really good game between the Cardinals and Vikings. Vikings won it last minute, 23-22. Again, a lot of close games this week, but this was a really fun game to watch.
Look at the Cardinals, man. They scratch and claw. They are not the team you want to play late in the year. They're one of those teams that can just play spoiler for a team that needs to win a game.
Mm-hmm.
They're right on the cusp, man. Give them a couple years. They'll be okay.
Vikings, 10-2 right now.
What is happening? With Sam Darnold.
Maybe Sam Darnold gets comeback player of the year. I don't know, but that's
I think I think s- I think
you
Sam
can make the
Darnold.
argument.
You
You
can
can make
make
the
the
argument.
argument. Dude, it's crazy how a couple weeks back we were talking about Sam Darnold in the MVP race, and it's like
He hasn't left.
he's
He hasn't
fucking
left.
hasn't left that conversation yet. It's fucking Sam
I
Darnold, bro.
know. I know. And hey, oh man, it has been
It's playing his best football, and it's great to see that he's found a culture that's
absolutely.
embraced him.
I'm very curious, much like the Steelers and the Vikings, where they go at the end of the season. Do they stick with the quarterback that has really been the hot hand this year, or do they go back to the young guy that they want to develop, either in Justin Fields or JJ McCarthy? I'm very curious as to what both teams decide, but it's still very early on, and we'll have to see come the off season.
Well, the unfortunate fact is with Minnesota, they don't have a report card with JJ McCarthy in the it's very brief before the unfortunate injury happened.
Yeah, but they were
Justin
expecting to start him.
for sure, yeah, but what I'm saying is they don't have a resume to go off of. The
Yeah.
Steelers, at the very least, they have the 4-2 record that was Justin Fields' 6 games.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So they have that. So they
Mm-hmm.
have that to go with, and they can make it a competition. You still almost have a wing and a prayer putting JJ McCarthy in next year, knowing that you have a lithium hot Sam Darnold on your roster currently.
Lithium hot Sam Darnold. I never thought I'd hear those
That's
words.
Oh my god, those are weird. It's a
It's very
weird conversation to have, but it's the truth.
it's very true, man. But let's move on to New Orleans, where the Rams came in to play the Saints, and this was a very interesting game. Rams won 21-14 over the Saints. Saints again having a very very bad year this year. This is a rough year for the Saints, but the Rams still alive in the playoff hunt and possible for that division in the NFC West. The NFC West is very wide open right now, and the Rams are just keeping pace with the Seahawks and the Cardinals at the moment.
Hey, that's all you got to do is just keep on winning games. But when it comes to the Saints, you're in a lot of trouble for this year, man. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that you guys came to such a screeching halt due to injury and just poor play and what have you. But better luck next year.
Oh man, let's move on to Carolina, where the Bucks and Panthers had a very good game between the two of them. Bucks ultimately won 26-23 in overtime. But we talked this game, man, and again, there's something brewing in Carolina. And yes, they may not be winning these games, but they are playing them hard, and that is great to see.
They're playing up to their opponents, and for people that really who aren't sitting back and watching these games happen with Carolina don't understand what's happening. This is something that you and I have spoken about to nauseum, is that you guys need to play together, and you lose together, and then you lose close games together. Then you start winning close games together, and then you start winning games impressively. It's the same method that happened in Detroit. While it was happening, we were talking about it, that these losses are getting closer and closer, and they're getting closer and closer losses with these really good teams. And then before you know it, they upset a really good team.
Mm-hmm.
And then before you know it, they start beating good teams at the wrong time for them. And they start playing spoiler for good teams. And then before you know it, holy shit, they're a good team. This is what we're at now with Carolina. And this happened in the course of a year, of a season, from a trip to Germany. It just switched and it went, and things started going right in Carolina.
Yeah,
It's little things.
It's crazy just to think of like the Panthers at the beginning of the year and now at the end of the year, where it's like, man, there's light at the end of that tunnel, man.
Yeah, it was good to see, and I tell people that there's light at the end of the tunnel. I told a coworker of mine before this game that there was light at the end of the tunnel. And he looked at me. He goes, "What?" I go, watch this game if you can. He's someone who I know who has NFL Red Zone.
Mhm.
He came to me and he was like, I don't understand what's going on. And I was like, I told you there's light at the end of this tunnel. There is something going on where if they play their cards right, within a handful of years, they can wind up being a playoff team. I'd say within 5 years, if things were to go right, they could be a playoff team.
I'm just saying right now, I have a bold prediction for next year, but we'll wait till
We'll get
next
there
year.
next year.
We'll save it for next year, man. But it's gonna be pretty
I think
bold.
I know where you're going, and although I think it would be valid, I think you're a couple years too fast.
I might, but hey, we'll see. We'll see how
We'll
how
have
it
to see how
shapes
the
up.
off season goes.
Yeah. Oh man. Let's move on to Baltimore, where Philly came to town to play my Ravens, and Eagles won 24-19. Even though it was a one possession game, it really wasn't close. It was really all Philly the second half. This was a very distressing loss for the Ravens because again, we just couldn't seem to get out of our way. Two big missed field goals by Justin Tucker, who's having his worst year this year. But I got to give my hats off to Philly, man. They look like one of the best teams in the NFL right now. And Saquon, I thought Saquon was more like cherry than, or like more sizzle than steak, but no, he is like the engine of that team right now. And he's on pace to break the single season rushing record set by Eric Dickerson. And at this point in time, after seeing what he did with the Ravens, I could totally see that.
It's great to see a good run game coming out of Philadelphia again.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. It's bittersweet to see what's happening with Justin Tucker.
I know.
After 12 years of being an ace, to just being an absolute ace, I really hope it doesn't come back with a vengeance. But this was something that you and I spoke about a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to what happens when you no longer have him and you still have the trouble of getting into the end zone consistently.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Well, I've seen Old Yeller. I know the ending of Old Yeller. But...
Oh my god.
No, but it's that right now the Ravens are we go to our bye week this upcoming week, and I think this is exactly what we need. Just to kind of get everything realigned. Everyone
get it right week.
Get focused, and if we're going to make the playoffs, let's make this push. So this is the latest. This is week 14 is the last week for teams to have their bye week. So I didn't like us having the bye week this late, but at this point in time, I'm kind of glad.
Most right now.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad. Just kind of get everything in line and get ready for going forward. Before we move on, I do want to give a quick shout out to Vic Fangio, the defensive coordinator for Philly. He has really changed the whole outlook of Philly right now because they are playing great defensively. And there was a tackle in this game by the rookie Cooper DeJean. Yeah, Cooper DeJean, where he had a textbook tackle on Derrick Henry.
One of the cleanest tackles I've ever seen.
That tackle will be shown in film rooms across the NFL and across just like in college,
across football.
Across football.
One of the best fundamental tackles ever.
And to think that last year Philly was the worst fundamentally defensive team at this point in time. Right. And now he has 180 that completely, and Philly looks like a threat. And I'm so glad to see it too because this is exactly what they needed.
It's good to see people rap tackling.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, we've come into an age where a lot of people go for shoulder-to-shoulder chest tackles, or they go for rough pushes. No. Wrap them up at the waist and drive. It's the only thing. The low man wins, and again, I agree with you totally. Shout out Cooper DeJean. But again, it's the ugly side of Derrick Henry, where it's you meet him with contact, and he doesn't know how to get away for some reason.
He can't stiff arm you if your arms are wrapped around his waist. Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Right. He doesn't know how to stiff arm out of that yet. Not just yet.
Oh, man. Okay, let's move on to the final game on Sunday, and that was the San Francisco 49ers playing against the Buffalo Bills in the snow. This was another great snow game, but mostly for the Bills. This was not a great snow game for the 49ers. Bills won 35-10, and Josh Allen, he looks like he's on pace to have his first MVP, and rightfully earned. I think at this point in time, the three leading candidates are Josh Allen, Saquon, and Lamar. No particular order, but those are probably the top three guys. But man, Josh Allen is playing his best football this year, and it's great to see.
Yeah, it's great to see Josh Allen play his best, cleanest football. But gotta say, Christian McCaffrey out with a PCL tear.
Yeah.
Possible season ending. Another one in the dust for the 49ers. They were a total mismatch going in, and they lost their engine now.
Yeah, and we spoke this game last week, and this was practically for the 49ers season right now, and it looks like their season is just being derailed by injury, and we hate to see it because obviously, again, no player ever deserves to get injured, but it's like, again, 22 out of the 53-man roster have been injured throughout this year, and that is just unsustainable for any team to have success.
Especially when 80% are your key players.
Yeah.
When each one is a key player, and then it's like you're going down the list of just key player after key player after key player. And like we spoke about it a little bit last week about how it's the talent margin between the first line and the second line.
Mm-hmm.
When your reserves have impossible shoes to fill, this is what you get. You get a team that struggles.
Mm-hmm.
And they are struggling.
Yeah, this was a rough one for the 49ers. But Bills, hey, they keep on rolling, man. They just keep on rolling. Okay, that brings us to the final game of Week 13. And this was a pretty good one in Denver, where the Cleveland Browns came to play the Denver Broncos. And the Broncos won 41-32. But Jameis Winston, man, I think this was the Jameis Winston show where it's like you saw the best of both worlds, where it's like he can get you those great touchdowns, but he can throw you those ugly pick sixes. And there were two ugly pick sixes, 3 interceptions in total by Jameis Winston. But man, Browns had a chance to win, but hey, Jameis Winston's just gonna ball out, man.
Sometimes, ugly is as ugly does, but Broncos they're ahead of where the Browns are currently.
Oh yeah.
So I don't fault Jameis Winston for the pick sixes. You got to accept the floor if you're going to go with the ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
He uplifts your team, and he throws interceptions, and they might be for a pick six, but there are other men on the field as well that could have made that tackle. That's a team thing.
Yeah,
That's a team thing to a certain extent, in my opinion.
It is, but it's just tough when it's like he didn't, as a quarterback, when you're throwing behind your receiver,
it doesn't help. It definitely doesn't help.
Yeah.
But that's the floor of Jameis Winston, is that he is a career backup for a reason. It's unfortunate. He is a good segue quarterback. He's like a Mason Rudolph, where it's what you see is what you get. You're going to get a couple of good games, and you're going to get a few really shitty games. But it's going to be entertaining.
Well, he's the definition of a gunslinger. And
right.
I really hope that he is a 30 for 30 player, literally. He had that 30 for 30 He had that 30 for 30 season, 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions in his career. Only player to do so. I hope at some point in time ESPN does a 30 for 30 on Jameis Winston.
He's one of the only quarterbacks ever to get a 5,000-yard season.
And yet throw 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions.
In the same year.
So I hope they do a 30 for 30 on that, because it would be absolutely perfect. But
they better do a 30 for 30 on Jameis Winston after he retires.
Oh, man. But hey, Broncos looking very good this year under Bo Nix and Sean Payton.
I like it. I like Bo Nix.
Got a Bo leave, baby. Got a Bo leave. So there you have it, guys. That is our Week 13 recap. Again, Week 13. Crazy to think that
Can't believe how fast this is going.
I know we are in December already, my friend, and it is great to see because there's a lot of great football in December. This is where teams really solidify who they are, and the stakes have been upped. Divisions are on the line, playoff spots are on the line. And let's talk about the first game that we wanted to discuss, and that is the Seahawks and the Cardinals. And we've been having our eye on these two teams the last couple of weeks, but right now this game is kind of for the NFC West at the moment. But CP, I'll let you start off, my friend. This game has a lot riding on it.
I love everything about this game going in. You know, we all have a soft spot for Geno Smith in Seattle with how they play. We want to see a Geno Smith playoff run. We want to see a DK Metcalf playoff run. You know, a lot of people, me included, we want to see a DK Metcalf Super Bowl ring. We want to see him get one.
Absolutely.
He's a great receiver. But I said earlier this year, the Cardinals are not a team that you want to play late in the year.
Mm-hmm.
They are that thorn in your side type of team where if they get it together, they can score in flurries. And the Seattle defense is one of those defenses that can let up a lot of points in no time. This being for the division is really interesting because the shakeup that happened the last time they played was crazy. So if they were to split, the idea of a round 3 possibility,
it's on the table.
It is on the table. So we could get a precursor to what could be a really good playoff game. I'm excited for this game.
I'm excited for this game too, man. And right now, the Seahawks sit at 7-5. The Cardinals sit at 6-6. So far, the Seahawks have the tiebreaker over the Cardinals. So if the Seahawks win, they really kind of get that separation between the Cardinals. But if the Cardinals win, they close that gap. And that makes it very interesting. Because then it goes on to division wins at that point in time. What's the team looking like against the division wins? And they do have a couple other division games after this one to really determine it, but this one will determine who gets that head start. I kept asking myself, what's going on with the Cardinals? I'm like, what is that breath of life that they've been doing in there? And looking at the stats, first off, Kyler Murray, looking at his stats, it's nothing too crazy, right? He's got 2,600 passing yards. He's got a 68 completion percentage, 13 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and only sacked 21 times. I'm like, okay, that's pretty solid. Marvin Harrison Jr., 606 yards, 7 touchdowns. So him and Kyler have a pretty good connection. Over more than half of Kyler's touchdowns are going to Marvin Harrison Jr. He really likes him in the red zone. But I think what a lot of people are really overlooking right now is that the Cardinals are more of a running team than we think. They have 1,697 rushing yards as a team. Again, James Conner crushing it in Arizona. And I was not expecting this from the Cardinals at all. I thought that they'd be a little bit more of a pass-happy team. But no, they look to run the ball, and run it very well. And I think that is a very good strategy to have because, as we've seen before in just the history of the NFL, teams that tend to run the ball very well have success in December and January going on. I do want to give a shout out to Budda Baker, man. He might be having his best year right now. He has 114 tackles at the moment.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh
he
God, he
he
is in
is
on everything.
yeah, he is everywhere on the field right now. He is everywhere. And that's what they need, man. They really like he is that defensive leader that Arizona has been needing for a long, long time. Um and let me flip it over to the Seahawks real quick. Like, okay, the Seahawks, they've been again, like you said before in the recap, they've been thugging out wins. they,
Right.
they have really been thugging out wins. Geno Smith, he is playing hero ball. He really is just playing hero ball. He has 3,241 yards. That's like top 5 in the NFL. That may be more than top 5 in the NFL right now in passing yards. 68 completion percentage, 13 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, sacked 40 times.
Oof.
So their offensive line needs a little bit of help. But um, again, they are running it not as effectively, but K9 is looking good. Zach Charbonnet, those are two great running backs that they have right there. But I think now there's a new name emerging in Seattle, and his name is Jackson Smith Najigba.
Mm.
And he right now he's the leading receiver for the Seahawks. Not DK, not Tyler Lockett, it's JSN. 829 yards and 4 touchdowns. He is they are really starting to give him more ball and more time with the ball and more looks, more targets. Tyler Lockett's third. Like Tyler Lockett is kind of like they're phasing out Tyler Lockett in this offense. DK's still DK, and like he's gonna get his, and he's gonna be thugging out against defensive backs as he is. But I think one big stat that I'm looking at right here, turnover differential. Uh, Arizona sits here with a -1 turnover differential. Obviously, not great. You know, you'd like it to be in the positives, but it's like okay, not too bad. Seattle at -6. They're turning the ball over more than they should be, and that's why it's like they find themselves much like in the Jets game, where it's like they're finding themselves in a hole early and having to dig out. And that's what we've been seeing with the Seahawks, where it's like they're digging themselves early, and yet Geno Smith with late comebacks. And I mean, since last year, Geno Smith has actually had the most fourth quarter comebacks in the league, which is crazy to think about. But
Comeback killer.
he's doing it. And, this game is going to be very interesting to see how it shapes up. I think that both of these teams, they're kind of a little bit of mirrors of one another, but Arizona statistically is a little bit more cleaner than Seattle.
Yeah, and I can totally see that too because Kyler Murray, I've been saying it for years, is that he can play and he's very accurate as a quarterback. His problem was he didn't watch film. That was his problem for years.
Yeah.
As of this year, it looks like he's starting to watch film. He's finally seen that you need to watch film to be good in this league.
Mm-hmm.
Geno Smith is Geno Smith, man. We all want to see, like I said, we want to see him do great, but he's another one where it's his expectations coming in were a lot bigger than what he had to offer, and what he has to offer now isn't bad, but you still have to accept that floor with that ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of ugly that comes from Geno Smith. We saw a lot of it earlier on in his career. He cleaned it up now in Seattle, but he now has no help, and that's kind of what happened in the beginning of his career. He didn't have much, and that's where the flaws in his game come with the 11 interceptions. On Arizona's side, I love to see James Conner with the revived career.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was last week, that Arizona actually plans to make an extension for him.
Which they should.
They absolutely should. Hats off to him. Keep it running. Kyler Murray, I love how he's continuing to mature and get better every year. Marvin Harrison and him, I love their duo. And again, Seattle being the team that likes to dig themselves into holes, that is not Arizona is not the team you want to do it late in the year.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, they're a team that can score in bunches really early. So if you dig yourself into a hole, they will just fill you in it. And
Mm-hmm.
they won't let you climb back out because they know how to score and they know how to play well. They've been playing very complimentary football even when they lose.
Mm-hmm.
Their record really doesn't show how well they've been playing this year.
Yeah, they've been playing very up down. Um, and I look back at the first game between these two teams. Seattle won 16-6 in Seattle, and it's very tough to play in Seattle. But this game is totally different in Arizona, and I mean, obviously Arizona's got the dome. Their fans are, wow, they're a crazy bunch out there in Arizona. But Kyler he is the rock and the anchor to this team. And I think that we have criticized Kyler a lot for just over the years. And, not, and rightfully so. Again, no player or coach is above criticism. And, we as fans, we like to just kind of like pick at the weeds of between players. But I got to give credit where credit is due. And although Kyler's stats right now are not sexy, they're not like eye-popping stats or anything like that, especially when a couple years ago when they went 8-0 and they were like, oh shit, the Cardinals are fucking here. And it's like, and then they kind of fizzled out at the end of the year. I'm more impressed with this year in particular than when they started 8-0 because they are showing a consistency in their game. And that to me is very important. And that's starts with running the ball and becoming that running team. We see that with the Chargers, and we'll talk more with the Chargers too, where it's like they have an electrifying quarterback that can just place the ball at any point in the field and has a cannon of an arm and can make stellar plays and incredible highlights. But the best thing for him is to give him a run game and to give him an offensive line. Again, Kyler's been sacked only 21 times. And at this point in the year, that's not bad. That's really not that bad.
That's really good.
And Geno Smith's been sacked 40 times.
Right.
That's rough. Getting a hit 40 times as a quarterback, you feel it. And especially as Tom Brady has said it before, it's like, you don't want to take those hits when you get older.
Especially late in the year.
Yeah. This is Geno Smith's 10th year in the NFL. So he's not a young guy anymore, but he's a proven vet. And I give a lot of credit to Geno Smith too, where it's like he's winning games based on his knowledge and his intelligence rather than his arm. I mean, his arm is still great, and he's like still top 5 in passing yards. And I don't have the actual stats right now of like where he places in passing yards leader, but like he's up there, and he's been up there since he's been in Seattle. Chris Palmer doing the research right now. He's looking it up, but
I will. Yeah, I'm gonna look up what his yards are for right now.
But yeah, he
has 3,200 yards.
Mm-hmm.
So where does he sit? Go ahead.
But that's the thing too, is like I got to give a lot of credit to Geno, and I hope that Kyler learns this too. Sometimes the most talented quarterback doesn't always win, but the smartest quarterback typically does. And Geno has been winning a lot of games right now because of his intelligence and because of his vision and foresight and trust in the guys around him too. He does have the help, and I don't think that he doesn't have the help around him because he definitely does. He has great wide receivers. He has great running backs. His offensive line, again, that definitely needs help. But his defense has been pretty good too. I've said it before. I've been a fan of a lot of these defensive personnel in Seattle. Um, but I think that both of these teams match up very well against one another.
So,
Mhm.
Geno Smith is ranked third in the NFL for passing yards.
Wow. Who's
But
1 and 2?
I didn't look that up yet. I just looked
Okay.
up Geno Smith specifically.
Okay. But
But
third, hey, third.
but on the other side of that coin, he is second in interceptions.
Yep. Yep.
So you got to take the good with the bad. Is that he's playing his heart out, but in doing so, you get a little blood on the field.
Exactly.
So you got to take the floor with the ceiling.
Absolutely.
He's that seasoned vet, but he is that weathered seasoned vet now.
Yep.
He has gone through a lot in his career, and he is still playing in a very hard division.
Oh yeah. And like we said before, the NFC West, it's wide open. It is wide open. And I know we said that the Niners, like, their season was kind of on the line. Theoretically, they could still win out. And literally everyone else kind of lose out. And the Niners are still there. But the Rams could win this division. The Seahawks could win this division. The Cardinals can win this division. The 49ers still could win this division. But it's a lot harder now for them. But this game, if the Cardinals win this game, it really opens it up. And it's really anyone's game. And it's whoever plays the best in the month of December.
Yeah, and right now it's hard to say Arizona isn't a really good team late in the year because they've been playing really well since the start of the fall. They turned it around late October and they seem to be on a rise. And Seattle is again, they're one of those teams that you've always feared that they kind of plateau and come later in the year. You need to hope that they don't meet this Arizona team on a plateau, or they will just be pushed over the side.
I mean, hell, the Cardinals went toe-to-toe with the Vikings this year. They went toe-to-toe with the 10-2 Vikings and lost by a point.
They're just not the team you want to play. They are the thorn in the side of every good team. It doesn't matter. Seattle's a good team.
Yeah.
It's just Arizona knows how to prepare for who they play for. Yeah. And I think that really just falls in line with watching film. You're seeing it developmentally put them above other people. Film is not a mandatory thing in the pros. The teams that watch film, you watch them get better as the year goes on.
Yeah, exactly, and that's well said too, because that's the teams that watch film the most are typically the teams that win. Those Patriots, that Patriots dynasty for all those years, they were the best at watching film.
Right, they were in the film room all the time,
and it shows too. And when as a fan, it's like you could tell when a team has watched film, and it's like
you can tell by preparedness.
Yeah, exactly.
You can always tell by preparedness, and you can tell when a franchise, you look over at Seattle, you can tell they always prepare for the team. Majority of the team can watch film. The other team, you can see that there's players that always miss steps and whatnot. Arizona, you can see they've really come into the idea of preparation for every team they play, no matter when. No matter who, no matter when, we're going to prepare the right way. We're going to see what they do, and we're going to attack their weakness.
Yep. And I'm looking at the Seahawks and Cardinals schedule here. So after this, I'm looking at the Cardinals first. After they play the Seahawks, they play the Patriots, the Panthers, the Rams, and the 49ers. And looking at that schedule, I'm like, okay, that Rams game is going to be very telling. But obviously this game here, those other games are extremely winnable.
That Cardinals-Panthers game is interesting.
That's going to be very interesting. We may talk about that, and I'm sorry for people who don't like us talking Panthers, but hey, there's something with Carolina. We like talking about that. But for the Seahawks, they have a little bit more difficult of a path than the Cardinals, because after this game they play the Packers, the Vikings, the Bears, which is, again, the Bears are struggling, and then the Rams. So Seattle, after this game, it's like their path to the playoffs is a little bit more difficult according to team standings than the Cardinals. So if the Seahawks really want to make a push, you got to enter playoff mode now.
They should have been in playoff mode a couple weeks ago. We've been saying that games are must win since like week 4 because of how hot some teams really came out.
Yeah.
It should have been must win mode from the beginning of the year on. It's just there's too much competition to wait until now to lock in for the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
That type of football is gone, in my opinion, when it comes to, we're going to ride out till after the trade deadline and then it's prepare for the playoffs. There's none of that anymore. There's too much competition.
Mm-hmm.
Strictly, there's too much competition on both sides.
Oh, yeah.
There's no more, we're going to wait till 8 games in to start getting ready, to start saying, now we're going to start getting ready for the playoffs. No, you can't do that. The entire league is split by half a game.
Mm-hmm.
All year, split by half a game.
There's too many good teams out there. And,
right.
And especially now in the NFC, where we thought, again, where the AFC was filled with a bunch of great teams, a lot of teams in the NFC have really proven themselves this year. And 100%. That is so great to see. Again, teams like, obviously, the Lions, the Vikings, as we mentioned before, the Packers, that's 3 out of 4 of just the NFC North alone.
Washington.
Philly.
Right.
Philly. Atlanta, still don't sleep on Atlanta still. And then you got Seahawks and Cardinals. And it's like there's
They're
a lot
right there in that conversation.
There's a lot of really good teams in the NFC, man. And we're really lucky to see these two division rivals go at it again with all the marbles. That's why you and we love Ravens Steelers, baby, because it matters so much more. And it matters so much more for these two teams because their paths, they have 2 totally different paths ahead of them. And it's a matter of who's going to be the more opportunistic team going forward.
Yeah, 100%. And even going into the competition that they have, it's just as easy as those games are winnable for Arizona. They're just as easy losable.
Oh, yeah.
They could absolutely lose those games because those are also teams that have nothing really to lose and everything to gain, and they have a lot of growth to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Seattle, they, like you said, they have a bumpy road to get to the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Both of these teams have to be in must-win mode. Both of them, they want to keep playoff ideas alive, and they want to secure a playoff spot in the first place in the division.
Mm-hmm.
It starts with this game. It starts with this game.
100%, my friend. 100%. Oh man, I'm really excited for this one. But CP, you got any final thoughts on this game?
Division game, anything can happen, but again, it seems like some tides are turning in these young quarterbacks and these young teams that are embracing. Arizona, keep an eye out.
Oh yeah. Keep an eye out, man, because this game is going to be very intense, and I'm excited for this one too. But man, we have another great game ahead of us. Another game that we wanted to talk about this upcoming week, and that is the Sunday night primetime game, and that is the Chargers and the Chiefs. This is going to be a really good one. CP, I'll have you start this one because I know you wanted to talk this one in particular. But man, let's just dive right into it. What are your thoughts on this game right here?
This game is interesting. When you just first look at it, it's wow. The Chiefs are looking to go for their 9th straight division title. They're 1 game away from clinching their 9th straight. And when you think about that, it's it's same old Chiefs. They're going to go in, they're going to lump up the Chargers, they're going to win.
Mm-hmm.
Then you peel it back a little bit more. And then you're like, they've struggled to score 30 points all year. The Chargers defense has come alive under Jim Harbaugh.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
the Chargers' offensive line has come alive under Jim Harbaugh. He has brought the energy of the Michigan Wolverines to the offense of the Chargers, where they are a smash mouth, run down the field, and then score at will type offense, and they're a defense that is just suffocating at every single point that can happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look back across the Kansas City and you see a Patrick Mahomes that isn't playing like the NFL cheat code that gave him the nickname.
Mm-hmm.
He is very mortal right now.
Yeah.
And then you wrap that all up into fourth quarter controversy. Yeah, everyone rolls their eyes when they hear about it. It's just because it's, again,
but it's true.
It's not conspiracy. It is the truth of what's happening.
Yeah.
Look, every week this year, there has been something that has happened or hasn't happened that should have happened that has shifted the game in the direction to have the Chiefs win in a walk-off in regulation. It's understandable why people come up with the idea that this game is rigged for them and it's scripted for them to win a Super Bowl, because there are just things that don't make sense. Why is there a field judge calling an offsides penalty or a false start, dead ball, and then the other one reversing it? I'm referring to against the Raiders game. Why does another line judge come in and reverse the call? The main referee called a false start. It is a dead ball. Why is a line judge calling illegal formation Chiefs ball? And why does the line judge's call overtake the main referee? That is baffling. It is absolutely baffling that things like that happen every week that can be absolutely spoken about. And if it didn't go, we would more or less be talking about a different outcome. It is baffling to me that has happened to nauseum this year with the Chiefs. And it's upsetting to see, because they are a very talented team and every single win has been smeared by something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. No, and you're right. You're 100% right too. Where it's like, it taints our perception of the Chiefs, and not just the Chiefs, but in the NFL in general, right? On a macro level.
The officiating of this year has been abysmal. Not even just for Chiefs games.
It's just in general.
Just in general.
It's been so bad.
But it's being highlighted because of how many national Chiefs games there are. It's being highlighted with the Chiefs.
It's just a lot. In every which way. And right now, because they are obviously the two-time defending Super Bowl champion, the best team in the league, with the best coach in the league and the best quarterback in the league. And of course, they're going to get a lot of primetime games. And when they get a lot of primetime games, there's no other games being played. That means that all eyes are on them. And so when something happens, like a controversial call, like a flag for the Chiefs or flag against the Chiefs or a no call, it's magnified tenfold.
Tenfold. And it's wild, because you expect more from the Chiefs than what you've been getting, on top of all the controversy. With the controversy, they're struggling on offense, and the defense is reverting back to giving up a fucking bunch of yards like they were a couple years back.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're winning games, but they're keeping teams in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not, they don't have a one-punch knockout anymore. That's not a thing in Kansas City. You know, there's a lot more to be desired in Kansas City now, going for this three-peat. That was in the beginning of the year. Everyone thought it was going to be off to the races, but it's more trudging through the mud with them. It's just, here we go again. Just another game to watch where Patrick Mahomes is going to have to do something great to get them out of a jam. The game is going to take it down to the last minute and a half, and the referees are going to let you know that they're still a part of this game.
Yeah.
And that is the formula of a Kansas City Chiefs game.
Mm-hmm.
Every week.
And it's been discouraging to watch just as fans.
Right. It changes the whole, like you said, it changes the perception of the Chiefs because they are a very talented football team.
Mm-hmm.
They are coached very well. They are very well conditioned. Patrick
Mm-hmm.
Mahomes is an elite quarterback. He has very good pieces. He has a good offensive line. Andy Reid is one of the best coaches of all time. It's just become very stale, and teams have started to figure them out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is that has to do. The controversy comes from poor officiating. I'm not going to say it's leaned for the Chiefs because it's everywhere. You can look in every game and you'll find 100 missed calls that could have changed the dynamic of the entire game.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the Steelers-Bengals game. Opening play was a pick six.
Mm-hmm.
It was off an illegal hands to the face on George Pickens that wasn't called.
Mm-hmm.
He was thrown to the floor by his helmet, by the defenseman that scored the pick six.
Mm-hmm.
And it stood.
Yep.
So controversy happens. The officiating is bar none. But that leads to teams that can win football games.
Mm-hmm.
And the Chargers they capitalize on teams that allow them to stay in.
Mm-hmm.
They have developed a 2-minute drill.
Mm-hmm.
And that was their one Achilles heel that they needed. They have developed that. The Chiefs can't keep LA in this game. They have to score quick.
Yeah, this is. It almost feels like a cinematic story, doesn't it? Just a little bit, where it's like, what's the phrase from The Dark Knight? You either die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Yeah, and that comes with most dynasties.
Yeah.
We saw it with the Patriots, and now we see it with the Chiefs.
Yeah, and I think that I'll start with the Chiefs. This year for the Chiefs is their villain arc. They have really become the enemies of a lot of teams in the NFL. And no matter what team that we talk about, we talk Bills, we talk Chargers, we talk Ravens, we talk Steelers, we talk Lions, we talk Packers, there's that big looming shadow of the Chiefs there. It's okay, but can they beat the Chiefs in January, in February, right?
In Arrowhead.
No matter what team that we talk about, there's always that overarching shadow of the Chiefs over them because they've just been so good for I wouldn't say so long. It's only been like 6 years that they've had this dynastic run, which is crazy to think about too, which is just insane. But, they've done everything in their power to become the most powerful team in the NFL. But right now, like you've said before, their wins are tainted. A lot of tainted because of the officiating, because of just they don't have that one, that knockout punch. So a lot of games are scrappy. A lot of these Chiefs games are one-score games. Hell, Carolina brought it to the final round too against the Chiefs, which is crazy to think about. And when you look at the Chiefs too, where it's like at first, and we've talked about this too, and when it's funny when you look at least when we've been doing the podcast, you can every time that we talk Chiefs, that you can see the evolution of to where they are now, based on just years past. I remember sitting at your place in Oceanside, and after the season after they lost against the Bucks, we're sitting down there and we're talking Chiefs, and I'm like, no, the Chiefs are changing. They're not that dynastic, offensively driven team. Mahomes is adapting to the cover two that was presented to him against Tampa in that Super Bowl. They're becoming a more run-centric team. They're becoming a very defensive-oriented team. And it's death by 1,000 cuts rather than big 80-yard bombs to Tyreek Hill or what have you, right? they've really become, like you said before, the Patriots now, the dynasty, and where it's like, again, that Patriots team was never really a sexy offensive team. They just did all the little things very well. And that's what the Chiefs do now. They do a lot of the little things very well. I just want to take officiating out of it for a second and just really talk what the Chiefs are at the moment, and then I'll talk a little bit of the Chargers as well. The Chiefs are, when you look at, say, Mahomes' numbers, it's not bad. I mean, it's not crazy, but he's at 2,979 yards passing, 68 completion percentage, pretty solid, pretty average, 19 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. That's the big asterisk there, where it's like, okay, he's really turning the ball over more than he has been in years past. And he's been sacked 32 times. So his line is not as strong as it has been in years past. The Chiefs' defense only has 24 sacks this year, which last year they were dominant. They were one of the best defenses in the league. 24 sacks, 6 interceptions, 9 forced fumbles. The 9 forced fumbles is a nice step, but the 24 sacks, man, it's like, you and I, we looked into it. Chris Jones has 5. George Karlaftis has 5. Okay, so your main defensive production is coming from 2 players. And I think I got to give Joe Alt a lot of credit. I mean, I think he could really do well against George Karlaftis against this matchup. Shout out to Joe Alt. He's been a sensational rookie for the Chargers this year so far. But when you look at the Chiefs, it's like, again, they're a great team, but man, are they a flawed team. And they really have to thug out a lot of wins. Really, everything comes down to the wire. And I know we talk. Tell me. His eyes are moving. What's the stat?
Sorry, I thought I lost you for a second.
No,
they let up 235 yards a game on defense.
In the air or on the ground?
This year. In the air.
What do you mean? Per game?
Per game.
235 in the air. That's not too bad defensively. I mean, obviously less is better, but that's not too bad. I mean, we've seen a lot more worse defenses, right?
We've seen worse.
But I think that with teams, obviously, believe me, if as a Ravens fan, I would gladly take giving up 235 passing yards per game. I would gladly take that per game. But they are still a defensive-oriented team, really minimizing points from the other team and just kind of limiting what the other team does best. And that's what the Patriots did too. They take away, like under Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, they take away your first option, and you got to beat them with option B and C. Okay, let's do it. But I think there's 2 big stats that really stick out to me against the Chiefs and their flaws this year. And Travis Kelce. Obviously, he leads the Chiefs in receiving yards, but only at 637 yards, which out of Mahomes' 2,900 yards, right? Like 637 doesn't seem like a lot, but he is. But he has 101 targets. The second leading receiver for the Chiefs has 61 targets, and that's Xavier Worthy. So Mahomes is really looking for Kelce a lot this year. He is looking for him. Like, he's his first option every chance he gets. And that has not changed. And I know we've talked about it before between, the relationship that between Kelce and Mahomes, but let's be honest, though. If teams really double team Kelce, makes it a little bit harder for Worthy and D-Hop to get those one-on-ones. I mean, D-Hop has been a really good fit in Kansas City at the moment, but He's not a world beater. He's not the D-Hop from 2018 or 2019 that we remember, right? He's getting a little older now. But I think another big stat right here is turnover differential. Chiefs sit at a -4 turnover differential, while the Chargers have a +11 turnover differential.
Oh my God.
Yep. That is right there a big stat, which leads me into talking the Chargers real quick. Herbert's been not having an okay season right now. 2,500 yards, 63 completion percentage, but the touchdown to interception ratio, 13 touchdowns to 1 interception, is incredible. That's Aaron Rodgers level, like in his prime. That's really good shit. But as we talked about before with like the Cardinals in comparison, where it's like they're pivoting to a running team, the Chargers are pivoting to a running team. They are a more run-focused team under Jim Harbaugh, and that is the best thing for Justin Herbert because he's staying up in the pocket, getting less sacks, and they're able to really dominate the ground game. Now, J.K. Dobbins, he's out, and I don't think he may be out for the season, which is unfortunate. And I hate to see that too because he's been dealing with injuries since he's come into the league. But man, the Chargers, it's crazy going into this year. You and I, we talked about like, man, they got rid of Keenan Allen, Mike Williams.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, who are these guys that Justin Herbert's going to throw to? But he's really, Lad McConkey, the rookie, has really stepped up for them. Like, with a name like Lad, like goddamn. But and Will Dissly, the tight end, has really, really found a home in for the Chargers. And again, it's not who you play when you play them, right? Chargers played the Chiefs week 4, I want to say. These two teams have had completely different journeys from that point to now. And right now they sit and it's like the Chiefs are a very mortal team. And so are the Chargers. But man, this is going to be a fight. And I'm all for it.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, the Chiefs feel more vulnerable than the Chargers do.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the Chiefs sit at 11-1, a couple of calls go the wrong way, they're sitting probably at 8-4. You know, a couple of calls don't go their way, they're probably sitting at 8-4 against teams that they should have beat.
Mm-hmm.
You got to think about. Let's say that the call doesn't go their way for the Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
Raiders could win that game. They lose against the Raiders.
Yep.
But let's say the 2 calls that weren't called against the Panthers get called. Panthers win that game.
Over the Chiefs. Which would be
Over
crazy.
the Chiefs. Right, and then we talk about the upset of the year.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
You know, and then again,
the Ravens brought it to a toe. They brought it to a toe week 1.
You bring it to a toe.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we play them Christmas Day.
I like you guys a lot. That matchup, man.
That's a crazy matchup. Is on Christmas Day in Arrowhead.
Mm-hmm.
No, wait, are they coming to us? They might be coming to us. I might be wrong on that.
Either way, I from what both of you guys look like, I like the way the Steelers look more than the Chiefs at this point in time.
Right, because we look more. We don't look vulnerable. They look like their whole foundation is about to crumble underneath them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's. I'm not gonna say it's good to watch, but it's almost heartening to watch the competition overtake them before we get locked into another 20-year dynasty.
I don't know.
I don't think we'll ever see that again.
No, I don't think we'll see 20-year, but at least in the decade of this 2020 decade right here, the Chiefs seem to be the team of the 2020s.
Yeah, I mean, of course, they're the defenders of the AFC. That came in almost instantly.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm saying is, this year, there's a very good chance that they don't get to defend their title.
Mm-hmm.
With how vulnerable they look,
yeah.
if they come out into the playoffs week 1 as vulnerable as they look, there's a chance that they do not make it out of week 1
Mm-hmm.
if they don't get a bye. If they have to play week 1 on the road, that's not a shoo-in at all, no matter who they play.
Yeah. I mean, if right now the Chiefs have... Oh, no. Do they have the AFC West locked at this point?
No, they have to win this
game.
upcoming game
Right.
to lock it away.
Gotcha.
That would be them winning this upcoming week would clinch their 9th straight AFC West title.
Mm.
But again,
Oof.
going into this game, if you were to have this conversation 2 years ago, you'd think the Chiefs are going to walk all over the Chargers. You go into this game on Sunday, Chargers can win this game.
They really could.
And they can lump up the Chiefs in the process.
I mean, history's not on the Chargers side because Justin Herbert is only 2-6 against the Chiefs.
Right.
And that's not favorable going into this. And Mahomes, and I'm sure Herbert is probably so tired of having to play Mahomes and watching him succeed. Meanwhile, he hasn't even won a playoff game.
Right.
And I'm sure like he wants to beat Mahomes probably more than anyone. Maybe at the same level as Josh Allen, right? Like they just want to beat him. But in order to be the best, you got to beat the best. And right now the Chiefs are still the best.
Yeah, but again, it's the vulnerability. It's the look of vulnerability that is coming from radiating from the Chiefs team that everybody sees. Everybody sees it. They are not this invulnerable object anymore.
Yeah.
Where they're just going to stand there and beat up every team that comes their way. They're beaten, they're broken, they're slow, it's cold. You can tell Travis Kelce is not in the mood right now to play football.
No,
he doesn't want to play right now. He's not. He wants
to be back on the Eras tour.
Right. He wants to go back into the private jet life. He wants this season to be over. So again, this is a very winnable game for LA. They got to do what they do best, and that is gain a bunch of yards early and score quick. And this is the team that allows those yards to come around. And Justin Herbert, you are playing your cleanest football. So just keep doing that, and you will come away with this victory.
A lot of these Chiefs-Chargers games over the past couple years have been decided by one play. And in my mind, I'm kind of going over a few of them. And I remember 2 years ago, it was 24-24, Herbert marching down the field, all of a sudden interception. And then takes it, field goal, that's it. I remember, again, another shootout between Chiefs-Chargers in LA, Mahomes walk-off touchdown to Travis Kelce. It's just, the difference between the Chiefs and the Chargers is just one play. And when they played earlier this year, it was just one play. That interception by Herbert, and that's it. But that's how close they've been. Just one play away. And if they can get that one play over the Chiefs, hey, I think that really sparks some life in LA.
If they were to win this game late in the year in Arrowhead, it wouldn't just spark some life. It would be a statement that not only are the Chiefs vulnerable, Arrowhead is vulnerable.
Arrowhead is vulnerable, but the Chargers are here, and they have a leader, and his name is Jim Harbaugh.
Right. If they can walk into Arrowhead and they can stomp out the flame that is Kansas City right now, late in the year, there's going to be a lot to talk about with that Chiefs team going into the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
That is the spot where you have to beat the Chiefs. If the Chargers can beat the Chiefs there in the regular season, who's to say anyone can't beat them in the postseason at home?
Well, no one has since Mahomes has become the starter. So the playoff Chiefs, January Chiefs are a very different beast, but it does get like you. I do agree with you. It does give that sign where it's like, no, it can be done.
Right? It can be done. That's all, and that's all a good team needs to hear. Because that's possible.
Oh, man, I'm excited for this one. This one's gonna be
be a
good.
good one.
I see why they put this one at Sunday Night Primetime.
It's gonna be a good one.
Oh man, any final thoughts on this one, CP?
There could be some serious fireworks this game. Just keep an eye out for the Chargers and for the Chiefs. This could be a very, very interesting game.
Hey, it's only one play. That's the difference. It's just one play.
But who's going to make it? That's
Exactly.
the question.
That's the big question.
You got to make a play.
Oh, man. So with that being said, those were the two games that we wanted to talk about this week. So Chris Palmer, I saw you rubbing your eyes before. I know you're getting a little tired, man. But
no, I got dust in my eyes. Don't worry.
You got dust in your eyes. It's okay. I got insulation in my eyes, so don't worry. So you ready to pick some games?
Yeah, playoffs are right around the corner, mate.
Okay,
I feel it.
We have a tough one, starting with Thursday night football. Green Bay Packers at the Detroit Lions. What a week of football we have ahead of us, my friend.
And it starts on Thursday.
It's going to be so good. And I know Thursday night football gets a bad rap for shitty games. Man,
they're changing that narrative.
They're really changing that. This is a really good game. Chris Palmer, who you got for this one?
Give me the Lions at home, man. Absence of Jair Alexander and Randall Cobb is not going to be good for the Packers. Give me Detroit.
I'm going to take Detroit as well, but I think this is going to be a really close game. Despite the injuries, man, like Jordan Love is a baller, man, and he knows how to play against Detroit. That game against earlier was really determined by, again, one play, and it just kind of took control of it. But injuries late in the year is very critical for teams. I'm going to take Detroit, but I think this is going to be a really good game to watch, and I'm excited for this one.
It's going to be so much fun.
Oh, yeah, this is going to be really fun. Okay, let's move to Sunday's slate of games, starting with the Cleveland Browns coming to Pittsburgh to play your Steelers. Who you got, CP?
Got to give me Pittsburgh, man. Round 2. You guys got us once. You won't get us again.
Yeah, that's the thing. Tomlin, he knows he will get his team prepared to play Cleveland and say, hey, don't take them lightly. They beat us before. Don't take them lightly.
Right. Let's not do that again, huh?
Yeah. I'm going to take the Steelers as well to beat the Browns. Yeah, Tomlin, man. I trust him, but hey, this is going to be another good one. Divisional games, anything can happen. Okay, let's move on to the MetLife, where the Saints come to play the Giants in the Ugly Bowl. Who you got for this one, CP?
Give me New Orleans. Strive for first overall, Giants. Do not hurt your chances, even though you probably will.
I'm going to take the Saints as well. Giants are just... I think you know what it is the locker room has been really deflated. And that's the thing, too. It's like, at this point in time, everyone's just kind of playing to just get their resume up and hopefully teams take them. But the Giants, man, what a mess this year. This has been a very rough year for the Giants.
Such a mess.
But it's also been a rough year for the Jets. And the Jets go to Miami to play the Dolphins. CP, who you got?
Give me Miami. I have no reason to think that the Jets are going to get out of their way at all. No. No, Miami.
Yeah, I'm not picking either New York team this week. Or either New York team that calls the MetLife home. I'm taking Miami to beat the Jets, which then keeps Miami alive in the playoff race. So Miami still alive and maybe a team worth talking about in the cup in the upcoming weeks. I may have spoke too soon. The Ugly Bowl may actually be in Tennessee, where the Jags come to play the Titans. CP, who you got for this one?
Give me Jacksonville.
Ooh.
I want to see what Mac Jones can do. like you said, these are the two weaker teams of the league. You have nothing to lose. Go out and play. Just go out and play. Play safe, play hard, and show what you're capable of. For
Um,
both teams.
I mean, yeah. I mean, both teams are pretty dead, but division rival game. Typically, this would be a Thursday night game if ever this ever won. Um, I'm gonna take the Titans on this one. Titans are very scrappy. Jags, I think, after losing Trevor Lawrence, like you lose your leader, you lose your quarterback. That's tough. Doug Peterson is probably out of a job this year. Um, but Tennessee, again, they are starting this rebuild, and the Jags have just been continuously rebuilding. I'll take the Titans, but I could see this go either way.
Right.
Let's move to Minnesota, where the Falcons come to play the Minnesota Vikings. Chris Palmer, who you got?
Kirk Cousins returns to Minnesota.
The Kirk Cousins revenge game.
You're gonna have to give me Minnesota. It's hard to say that Minnesota is gonna lose against the team that's coming off of 4 turnovers.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Minnesota as well. I think when a quarterback comes to play his old head coach, and not that Kevin O'Connell's old, the head coach knows how to play against the quarterback. We've seen this a couple times before in the history of the league. But I'll take Minnesota to beat Atlanta. But Atlanta, man, if they keep losing, Tampa's gonna they're right on their heels for that NFC South title. So Atlanta, you better watch yourself.
Mode.
You gotta come get a win sometime soon.
You gotta be in must-win mode right now.
Absolutely. So let's move on to Philadelphia, where the Panthers come into town to take the Eagles. I'm going to take the Eagles, but I think Carolina's going to be scrapping against the Eagles here. Vegas has Philly as 13-point favorites. I would take the points, but I'll take Philly to ultimately win.
Yeah, Philly is the better team there. I would think that they would win no problem. Again, this is more of a game you want to look for growth and you want to see if Carolina can play up to the competition. My eyes are on Carolina, although I think Philadelphia is going to win.
Mm-hmm.
This could turn out to be a very interesting game.
What does it say if Carolina keeps it close against Philly?
Again, like we said, there's light at the end of the tunnel. Close is one thing. If they make it a 1-point game, that's a statement that we're not far behind.
Adam. Oh, man. Let's go to Tampa, where the Raiders come to play the Bucks. For all you young folks out there, this was a Super Bowl back in the early 2000s. Not so much anymore. It really isn't. CP, Raiders, Bucks, who you got?
You know, they give me Tampa. Unfortunate what's going on with Vegas. You know, I think this is going to be a come-together game for Tampa again.
Mm-hmm.
They should have no problem winning this game.
Yeah, I'm going to take Tampa as well. Tampa has a lot more to play for, especially if Atlanta loses. Tampa's coming right behind them. And again, Atlanta has those tiebreakers, but Atlanta can't seem to get any wins late in the year, and that does not make for a good playoff team. So I'm going to take Tampa. They should win this game.
Yeah.
Which leads us to the first game that we talked about this episode, and that is the Seahawks and the Cardinals. This is a coin flip of a game, man. It
really is. I'm
still
stumped.
kind of undecided on this one. But CP, who you got for this one?
I'm thinking about it all episode, man, and this is one of the harder picks of the year, and it's almost funny thinking about how this has become one of the harder picks of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Give me Arizona. because give me Arizona with the home field advantage. This is going to be a very, very fun game to watch.
Yeah, I'm really torn at the moment. I'm gonna go with Arizona. I think I trust the team that's been a little cleaner throughout the course of the year. And right now, Arizona has been the cleaner team than Seattle. But man, I could see this go either way.
Right.
Oh man. Let's move on to San Francisco, where the Bears come to play the 49ers. Man, 49ers need a win, man. But so do the Bears. Both of these teams need a win. CP, who you got for this one?
Most complete team wins, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna have to give me Chicago simply on the fact that
Complete?
simply on the fact that 80% of San Francisco's roster is hurt, and they no
Yeah.
longer have Christian McCaffrey, and then their backup also got hurt during practice, so they're down to their third string running back.
Yeah.
Third string running back, injured Brock Purdy, no star receiver, no star lineman, no defenseman.
Wait, is Purdy out? Because he was playing in 49ers, the Bills game.
He's playing, but he's not
playing.
100%.
Right.
You know, he wasn't 100% the previous game.
Yeah.
So he's not playing at 100%. He has no star receiver. He has no Trent Williams. They have no one on defense. This is like a silver platter game for Caleb Williams to show off. Impress me, Caleb Williams.
I think you convinced me to go with the Bears. I may have been leaning Niners before this, but I think you convinced me to go with the Bears. So I'll take Chicago over San Fran. Injuries, man, and it's just
injuries.
Tough.
It's 80% of your team is hurt. It's
it's rough. It's really rough in San Francisco this year. Let's move on to LA, where the Bills come to play the Rams. This should be a very, very interesting game. I'm going to take the Bills on this. They just have that momentum on their side, but the Rams still have a lot to play for. They're still alive in the NFC West, but I think the Bills just have it, man. They're just really on a roll. But who you got for this one?
I'm almost smelling upset here.
Ooh.
But you have to give me the Bills. But my eyes are on the Rams, man. I think they're another one of those teams that can just be the thorn in the side of the really good teams.
Mm-hmm.
Where they're not a team you want to play late in the year.
Okay, yeah, no, I think you're 100% right with that. But hey, if the Rams can get into the playoffs again, I don't think anyone would really want to play them. So let's move on to the Sunday night primetime game. Second game we talked about, the Chargers versus the Chiefs in Arrowhead. Money on the line. Chris Palmer, who you got for this one?
Again, years past, this was almost like a direct to the Chiefs, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not this year. This one is hard. You're going to have to give me the Chargers with the upset. I feel an upset on primetime. They're going to show that it can be done.
I want that. I really do. And I look at the stats, and a lot of the stats say Chargers. They have better defense. They have, they're playing more balanced football, more motivated. But I got to go with the Chiefs.
It's the Chiefs in Arrowhead. I don't blame you.
It's the Chiefs in Arrowhead, man. And
late in the year. And it's like a trifecta of get fucked.
I'm taking the Chiefs, but man, do I really want the Chargers to win this one. I'd rather be wrong, and I want to see it happen. But it's so tough to pick against them. And I respect you for doing it, man, because it is. But I think that this game, man, one play. That's the difference, is just one play.
It's always one play with the Chiefs, man. It's just Mahomes making a play for years and years.
Yeah.
But now it's, are you going to force a play? Because the Chiefs aren't forcing shit.
Well, I mean, you said Geno Smith led the league with interceptions with 12. Mahomes is right behind him with 11.
Right.
-4 turnover differential to
And
plus
they've
11.
both been sacked 40 times.
I know. I'll take the Chiefs, man, but this is going to be a really good game. And again,
Respect it.
the one play.
One play.
Oh, man. Which brings us to our final game of Week 14. The Cincinnati Bengals and the Dallas Cowboys in Jerry World Monday night. Bright lights in Dallas. Jerry loves that. I'm going to take the Bengals on this one. They just seem like the better team, but they can't seem to get out of their way. But man, Dallas is Dallas is that team this year. Offseason happened, and they forgot about running the ball. How to run the ball and how to stop the run, which is a big anomaly. But wow. Bengals need a win. Cowboys need a win. But I'll take the Bengals. But Chris Palmer, who you got for this one?
I feel like going into this year, the schedule makers saw this game on paper and they were like, this is going to be one of the greatest games of the year.
Oh, yeah. And then now it's week 14. It's like, oh.
It's like, this game should be slated to 1 o'clock. Like, like, there's no reason to show this game on Monday night. I guess you're going to have to give me the fucking Bengals, too. Because I definitely trust Joe Burrow a lot more than I trust Dak Prescott.
Well, Dak Prescott's out for the year, so it's Cooper Rush.
Oh, that's right. Cooper Rush. Yeah, no, absolutely. No, that dumpster fire can go sit down somewhere else. All right, well, there you have it, guys. Who you got?
I said the Bengals.
You said the Bengals already. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it, guys. There's our picks for the week. There's the two games that we spoke about. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe. Playoffs are right around the corner. This should be a very interesting week.
And we'll see you next week on Let's Talk Football.